She thought she had hidden them well enough. 6 layers of concealer cream, a hand-woven scarf wrapped high around her throat, and a smile polished over years of practice until it looked almost real. The morning light spilled through the stained glass windows of the royal nursery, painting everything in shades of amber and rose and gold. Amina moved through her duties with practiced silence, laying out little Princess Layla's dress for the day, testing the temperature of her bathwater, arranging the breakfast tray with its careful portions of honeyed bread and fresh figs. Princess Layla was 4 years old. She had her father's dark eyes and her late mother's gentle spirit. She had not spoken a single word in 7 months, not since the night the queen had died in the fire that consumed the eastern wing. The palace physicians called it selective mutism, a grief response, they said. They prescribed time and patience and quiet consistency. Amina called it a broken heart trying to protect itself. She understood broken hearts better than anyone alive. The bath water swirled with rose oil, steam rising in delicate spirals toward the painted ceiling. Amina tested it with her elbow the way her own mother had taught her back when teaching and mothers and normal life still existed somewhere beyond reach, before Yusuf, before the debts, before survival became something you negotiated day by day, bruise by bruise, silence by silence. Layla appeared in the doorway, clutching the stuffed lamb that went everywhere with her. Her dark curls stood up in sleep-wild tangles. She did not say good morning, because she did not say anything at all, but her eyes found Amina's face, and something in them softened. Trust. The kind of trust that made Amina's chest ache with its weight and its beauty and its terrible fragility. "Good morning, little moon." Amina kept her voice soft and musical. She had learned that Layla responded better to tone than to words, to melody rather than demand. "Ready for your bath?" The child nodded. She moved forward 1 step, 2 steps, then stopped. Her small hand reached up, fingers extending toward Amina's throat, toward the carefully arranged scarf. Amina's hand flew up instinctively, pressing the silk more firmly against her skin. She forced brightness into her voice until it sparkled with false ease. "Silly me, I must have slept on it wrong. My neck is a bit stiff this morning. Let's get you cleaned up, shall we?" Layla's dark eyes held questions her voice would not ask, but she allowed herself to be guided to the bath, settling into the warm water with the lamb perched on the edge of the tub. Amina washed her hair with the jasmine shampoo the princess preferred, humming an old lullaby under her breath. Her hands moved with gentle certainty. Her voice never wavered. Beneath the scarf, 5 distinct fingerprints pressed into her skin like a signature written in pain. Outside the nursery windows, the vampire realm stretched in impossible beauty. Crystal towers caught the morning light and scattered it into rainbows. Gardens bloomed in colors that had no names in any human language. Creatures that should have existed only in whispered legends walked freely through streets paved with stones older than human civilization itself. Amina had been here 4 months. 4 months since Yusuf had sold her contract to settle his gambling debts with the palace. 4 months since she discovered that vampires were real, and that some monsters wore human faces, and survival meant accepting whichever deal kept you breathing through one more night. The contract seemed simple enough. 5 years of service as nanny to the princess of the vampire realm, room and board provided, wages sent directly to Yusuf to satisfy the debt. At the end of 5 years, freedom, if she lived that long. Yusuf made sure she understood the alternative. The bruises were his way of keeping her grateful, of reminding her that she belonged to him, whether contract or not, whether vampire realm or not, that he could reach her anywhere. He visited every week with the same message delivered in grips and shoves and carefully placed marks that bloomed purple and black against her skin. Don't forget who you are. Don't get comfortable. Don't think you're anything special just because you pour milk for some dead queen's child. Last night's visit had been worse than usual. He had been drinking. He had lost money at the gaming tables. He needed someone to blame. Amina had been convenient. The fingerprints on her throat were almost gentle compared to the bruises hidden beneath her dress, but those she could hide. The throat marks were newer, darker, angrier. She had done her best with the concealer cream and the careful drape of silk. It would have to be enough. Layla splashed softly in the bath, making the lamb dance along the edge of the water. Amina smiled, despite the ache in her ribs, despite the way her left wrist throbbed where Yusuf had twisted it, despite everything that had happened and everything that was still to come, because this child, this small, silent princess, deserved someone who smiled, someone who made her feel safe, even when safety was a lie that adults told children to help them sleep at night. After the bath came the careful ritual of dressing. Layla preferred soft fabrics, nothing scratchy or confining. Amina had learned her preferences through weeks of patient observation, through the small ways the princess communicated without words. A wrinkled nose for dislike, a soft touch for approval, a turning away when something felt wrong or frightening or too much to bear. Today, Amina chose a dress of deep green velvet with tiny pearl buttons. Layla touched the fabric and nodded once. Approval. They moved to breakfast. The king took his morning meal with his daughter whenever court business allowed. Amina had been told this in her first week of service. Told this like a warning. King Rashid was 700 years old. He had survived 4 wars and 3 assassination attempts, and the fire that had taken his wife. He loved his daughter with a ferocity that made the air itself seem to shimmer when she entered a room. He did not, the head keephouser made very clear, tolerate incompetence or disrespect or anything less than excellence in those who served his child. Amina had met him only twice. Both times she had kept her eyes lowered and her presence as minimal as possible. He was tall in the way of ancient things, with a face that looked carved from obsidian and polished by centuries. His eyes were the color of desert storms. When he looked at you, you felt weighed and measured and catalogued and usually found lacking. She preferred to avoid his attention entirely. This morning, however, was a breakfast morning. Amina carried Layla to the small dining room adjoining the king's private study. The table was already set with silver and porcelain. King Rashid sat at the head, reading reports with the focused intensity of someone who ruled a realm for centuries and took the responsibility seriously. He looked up when they entered, looked at his daughter. His entire expression transformed, storm clouds parting to reveal something that looked almost like warmth. "Good morning, Layla." The princess did not run to him the way other children might do, but she went to her chair beside his, and when he leaned down to help her settle into place, she leaned briefly against his arm. It was the most physical affection she had ever shown anyone except the stuffed lamb. Amina moved to prepare the princess's plate, slicing fruit into small pieces, pouring cream into a cup painted with crescent moons. Her hands moved with gentle certainty. Her voice never wavered. Beneath the scarf, 5 distinct fingerprints pressed into her skin like a signature, written in pain. That was when it happened. King Rashid reached across the table to hand his daughter a napkin, as Amina leaned forward to place the fruit plate. His fingers brushed her collar. The silk betrayed her. The fabric shifted half an inch, just enough. His hand froze in midair. His eyes locked onto her throat. Amina felt the exact moment he saw them, felt it like a physical force, like the temperature dropping, like the air growing too heavy to breathe. She stepped back quickly, her hand flying to her scarf, pressing it down with desperate fingers. But it was too late. He had seen. She watched his expression change, watched something dark and terrible and ancient move behind those storm-colored eyes. When he spoke, his voice was very quiet, very controlled, the kind of control that costs something to maintain. "Amina, how did you get those marks on your neck?" The question hung in the air like a blade suspended by the thinnest thread. Amina's mind raced through possible answers, discarding each one as quickly as it formed. "An accident. I am clumsy. I walked into a door. I do not know what you mean." But this was a vampire king who had lived 7 centuries, who had heard every lie humanity had ever invented and several they had not. Her silence stretched too long. He saw that notice too. I slept on it. Her voice emerged steady through sheer force of will. I must have twisted my neck in my sleep. These old pillows are quite firm. Let's get you cleaned up, shall we? King Rashid's eyes never left her throat. He did not blink, did not move. The storm color of his gaze had darkened to something that looked like barely contained violence, held in check by chains of iron discipline. "Those are fingerprints," he said quietly. "Human fingerprints. 4 fingers and a thumb. Someone grabbed you hard enough to bruise the bone beneath." His voice dropped even lower. "Who touched you?" "No one, Your Majesty." The lie tasted like ash and copper. "I am fine, truly. I should check on the princess's afternoon lessons. She needs her arithmetic primer and the music tutor arrives at 2 o'clock, so if you will excuse me." The palace physician was a vampire named Dr. Farid, who had been practicing medicine since before the Ottoman Empire existed. He had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed spectacles and hands that moved with the gentle certainty of someone who had set 1,000 broken bones and mended twice as many wounded spirits. He examined Amina in a private chamber adjacent to the medical wing, with a female attendant present for propriety. King Rashid waited outside. Amina could feel his presence through the closed door like heat radiating from stone. Dr. Farid said nothing while he worked. He documented each bruise with careful notation, his expression never changing, never judging. The fingerprints on her throat, the bruises on her ribs, her arms, her back, the twisted wrist, the old scars layered beneath new injuries, a map of violence written on human skin. When he finished, he helped her redress with the same gentle efficiency he had shown throughout. Then he met her eyes. "How long?" 2 years since we married. 3 years before that, he was courting me. It started small, a grab here, a shove there. By the time I understood what was happening, I was already caught. Dr. Farid nodded slowly. "And your family?" "They knew, they suspected, but Yusuf was charming to them, generous. He paid off my father's business debts, helped my sister's husband find work. They thought I was lucky, that I should be grateful." The doctor's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I am going to recommend continued monitoring, physical therapy for the wrist, rib wraps for the next 2 weeks, and I am going to suggest something else, though you are free to refuse. We have a counselor on staff, Dr. Samira. She specializes in helping people recover from situations like yours. I think speaking with her might be beneficial." Amina's first instinct was to refuse, to say she was fine, that she did not need help, that talking about it would only make it more real. But then she thought about Lila, about the princess's small hand making the sign for safe, about the possibility that maybe, just maybe, she could become the kind of person who deserved that trust. "I will think about it," she said quietly. Dr. Farid smiled. "That is all I ask." He stepped to the door and opened it. King Rashid entered immediately, his eyes going to Amina, scanning her face as if checking for new injuries sustained in the last 20 minutes. "Well?" His question was directed at the doctor, but his gaze never left Amina. Dr. Farid handed him a sealed report. Extensive bruising, 2 cracked ribs, sprained wrist, various contusions in stages of healing, suggesting sustained abuse over an extended period. All injuries consistent with the patient's account. She will recover fully with rest and care, but she should avoid heavy lifting for at least 3 weeks. The king's hands crushed the report's edges. His voice emerged very level. "Thank you, Farid. Please prepare whatever treatment plan you recommend and bill it in my personal accounts. And send word to Dr. Samira. I want her available for consultation at the patient's convenience." "Of course, Your Majesty." The doctor bowed and withdrew, leaving them alone. The silence stretched. Amina found herself studying the floor, unable to meet the king's eyes, unable to handle whatever she might see there. Pity, anger, disgust. "I am sorry," she whispered. "For what?" "For being trouble, for disrupting your household, for not being stronger." His response came swift and sharp. "Look at me."
She forced her eyes up. His expression was fierce, almost angry, but the anger was not directed at her. She could see that now. It was aimed somewhere else entirely. "You have nothing to apologize for," he said clearly. "Nothing. You survived. You protected yourself the only way you knew how. You continued to care for my daughter with kindness and competence despite carrying these injuries. If anyone should apologize, is every person who saw your pain and did nothing, myself included." "But, Your Majesty, you did not know." "I should have." He moved to the window, tension radiating from every line of his body. "I pride myself on observation, on protecting those under my authority. Yet you have been here 4 months, and I never looked closely enough to see, never asked the right questions. That failure is mine." Amina did not know what to say. In her experience, powerful men did not apologize, did not admit fault, did not care about servants beyond their utility. King Rashid turned back to face her. "Yusuf," he said, "tell me about him. Not just what he has done, who he is, how he operates. I need to understand what we are dealing with." "We?" The word slipped out before she could stop it. "We," he confirmed. "You are part of this household now. My household protects its own. So yes, we." Amina sank into a chair, her body suddenly exhausted. "Yusuf Khoury, 36 years old. He runs gambling houses in the lower city, some legal, most not. He's careful about keeping his legitimate business separate from his other activities. Charming when he wants to be, ruthless when crossed. He has connections with the merchant guilds and some of the minor noble houses. People owe him favors. He collects debts, information, leverage." She paused. "And he's human. No vampire would have him. He hates your kind, actually, thinks you are parasites feeding on humanity. But he's willing to do business here because the money is good." The king's eyebrow lifted. Yet he sold his wife into service in a vampire household. The irony is rich. Amina's laugh was bitter. "He did not see it as selling me. He saw it as extending his reach, having someone inside the palace who owes him loyalty, who could gather information, make connections, be useful. The beatings were to make sure I stayed loyal, to remind me that I belonged to him, no matter where I sleep." The king's jaw was very quiet for a long moment. "Does he know you care for my daughter?" "He knows I am a nanny. I don't think he realizes whose child I tend. I never specified. It seemed safer that way." "Smart," the king acknowledged. "Keep that information contained for now. If he knows you have access to Lila, he might try to use that as leverage." Amina's blood chilled. "He wouldn't." "You don't know that." The words were gentle but firm. "Men who beat their wives are capable of anything. We treat this as a credible threat until proven otherwise." He moved to the door, paused with his hand on the frame. "You will stay in the family wing from now on, rooms adjacent to Lila's nursery, 24-hour guard rotation outside your door. You don't go anywhere alone. You don't take meals in the servants' hall. You eat with us for every meal." Amina's head spun. "Your Majesty, that is not appropriate. I am a servant. I cannot simply—" "You are my daughter's nanny, and you are under threat. That makes it appropriate. Besides, Lila needs consistency right now, stability. You provide that. Having you close will help her feel secure." He opened the door, then looked back. "Oh, and Amina, the contract Yusuf holds is being voided through legal channels as we speak. Lord Chancellor Hakim is handling it personally. Your family is being moved to the northern provinces tonight under guard. By this time tomorrow, Yusuf Khoury will have no legal hold over you whatsoever." Her voice emerged small. "And if he doesn't accept that? Then he will learn what happens when someone hurts what belongs to me." The rooms in the family wing were absurd. Amina stood in the center of a suite that was larger than the entire cottage she had grown up in, staring at furniture that probably cost more than her father had earned in his entire lifetime. a four-potter bed with silk curtains, a writing desk positioned perfectly to catch the morning light, a private bathing chamber with a tub deep enough to drown in, bookshelves lined with volumes in languages she recognized and several she did not. "This is too much," she said to the housekeeper who had escorted her. Madame Noor was a stern vampire woman, with silver hair swept into an elegant knot and an expression that suggested she had seen everything and approved of very little. "His Majesty's orders," the housekeeper said crisply. "You will find appropriate clothing in the wardrobe, day dresses, evening wear, night clothes, all in your size. There is a bell pull by the bed if you need anything. Meals are taken in the small dining room at 8, 1, and 7. His Majesty expects punctuality." "But I am a servant. I should be in the servants' quarters." Madame Noor's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Child, when the king of the vampire realm tells you you're sleeping in the family wing, you sleep in the family wing. Now, do you need help settling in or can you manage?" "I can manage." "Good. Dinner in 2 hours. Don't be late." She swept out, leaving Amina alone in luxury that felt like a cage made of velvet and gold. Amina moved to the window. Her new rooms overlooked the eastern gardens where night-blooming flowers opened their petals under moonlight. She could see guards patrolling the walls, could see the glimmer of protective wards shimmering in the air like heat waves on summer stone. She had gone from one kind of prison to another, safer, certainly, more comfortable, but still not free, still not hers. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. The door opened to reveal Princess Lila, still in her green velvet.
Dinner was an unexpectedly intimate affair. Just Amina, King Rashid, and Princess Layla at a table set for 3. The small dining room was warm with candlelight, less formal than the breakfast space. The king had changed from his formal robes into simpler clothing, dark and well-tailored but not ostentatious. He looked almost human in the flickering light. Almost. Layla sat between them, eating her dinner with careful attention. Amina noticed the king watching his daughter with an expression that was equal parts love and helplessness. She recognized that look, the look of someone who wanted desperately to fix something and did not know how. The meal passed mostly in silence until the king spoke. "Dr. Samira has agreed to see you tomorrow afternoon if you are willing. 2 o'clock in the counseling wing. I thought I would give you the choice, but I would strongly encourage you to at least meet with her once." Amina set down her fork carefully. "I will go." "Good." He paused. "The legal proceedings are moving forward. Yusuf has been notified that his contract is voided and that you are under royal protection. He has been instructed to not contact you or come within 500 yards of palace grounds. Violating that order carries severe penalties." "And my family?" "Safe. Relocated. Your father has been given a position managing one of the northern vineyards. Good salary, comfortable housing. Your sister and her husband are employed at the estate house. They are being told that you have been promoted to a position requiring your full attention and that you will write when you can. No mention of Yusuf or the circumstances." Amina's throat tightened. "Thank you." It seemed inadequate, insufficient for everything he had done. "You are welcome." His gaze was steady. "I meant what I said earlier. My household protects its own. You are part of that now, whether you believe it yet or not." Across the table, Layla was watching them both. Her small hands moved. "What are you saying?" King Rashid looked startled, then delighted. "She signed to you?" Amina nodded. "This afternoon, the first time. She asked if I was afraid and if I would be brave." The king's expression transformed. He looked at his daughter with such raw hope it was almost painful to witness. "Can you—" he hesitated. "Can you teach me more than the basics I know, so I can talk to her properly?" "Of course, Your Majesty." Amina felt something loosen in her chest. "We can start tonight if you would like." So they did. After dinner, they moved to the sitting room and Amina taught him signs. Simple ones at first. "Hello, good night, I love you, I am here."
King Rashid's hands were large and strong, built for swords and strategy and centuries of rule, but he learned with fierce determination, making mistakes, correcting them, asking questions. Layla watched her father struggle with signs, and something like joy flickered across her small face. She started correcting him, showing him the right way to form the gestures, giggling silently when he got them wrong. It was the most alive Amina had seen either of them, father and daughter learning to speak the same language, building a bridge across the silence that had separated them for 7 months. Amina watched and taught and felt something dangerous beginning to bloom in her chest. Something that felt like belonging, like maybe safety could be real, like maybe this strange broken family could become something whole. She should have known better. Should have remembered that Yusuf never let anything go without a fight. Should have realized that men like him always had plans within plans. Should have understood that being protected by a vampire king only mattered if the king knew where the threat was coming from. 3 days later, everything shattered. It started with a letter delivered to the servant's entrance, addressed to Amina in handwriting she knew too well. No one thought to intercept it because it came through normal channels, sealed with ordinary wax, looking official. By the time it reached her hands, Yusuf's message was already burning itself into her memory. Did you think a contract void meant anything to me? Did you think hiding behind vampire royalty would keep you safe? You are mine, Amina. You have always been mine. And if I cannot have you, I will take what you love instead. The princess takes her morning walk at 9 o'clock. Such a sweet child. So fragile. So very easy to lose in a crowd. Come to the address below, alone, tonight at midnight, or I will make sure King Rashid learns what it feels like to lose another person he loves. Tell anyone and the child dies. Run and the child dies. Do not come and the child dies. Choose wisely, wife. Amina's hands shook so badly she could barely hold the paper. The words blurred and refocused, each reading making them more real, more terrible. He knew about Lila. He knew Amina cared for her. He knew exactly where to press to make it hurt most. The paper crumpled in her fist. She was in her suite, door closed, the letters burning like acid in her mind. Her first instinct was to run to King Rashid, show him the letter, let him handle it with the full force of royal authority and vampire fury. But Yusuf's warning echoed. Tell anyone, and the child dies. She thought about Lila's small hand making the sign for safe, about her silent laugh when her father got the signs wrong, about the way she had started sleeping through the night without nightmares for the first time since her mother died, about the fragile trust building between them all. Amina could not risk her, would not. The address Yusuf had provided was in the warehouse district, abandoned buildings and dark alleys where screams would not carry, where someone could disappear without anyone noticing until morning. It was a trap, obviously a trap, but Amina had been caught in Yusuf's traps before, had learned that sometimes you walked into them anyway because the alternative was worse. She had 8 hours until midnight. 8 hours to decide if she was brave enough to die for a child who was not hers. The answer came immediately. Yes. She would go. She would face whatever Yusuf had planned, and maybe, if she was lucky, she would buy enough time for King Rashid to realize something was wrong and intervene. Maybe. The afternoon passed in cruel normalcy. Amina went through her routine with Lila, reading stories, practicing signs, playing quiet games, preparing tea. The princess was happy, signing more than she had in weeks, her small face bright with the kind of joy that comes from feeling safe. It broke her heart. During Lila's nap, Amina wrote 3 letters. One to the princess, explaining that she had to leave but that she loved her, that being brave meant protecting the people you cared about, even when it was hard, that it was not Lila's fault, that she would always, always be grateful for the time they had together. One to King Rashid.
thanking him for his protection, asking him to continue watching over Lila, telling him not to blame himself for what was about to happen, that his kindness meant more than he would ever know. And one to Dr. Samira, the counselor she had met with once and found surprisingly helpful, asking her to help Lila process the loss, to make sure the princess understood that Amina's choice was not her fault, that she had not been abandoned again. She sealed them, addressed them, and tucked them under her pillow. If she did not return by morning, someone would find them. At dinner, she forced herself to eat, to smile when Lila signed a joke about her father getting the sign for elephant hopelessly wrong, to respond to King Rashid's questions about her day with practiced normalcy. The king watched her with those storm-colored eyes, and for a terrifying moment, she thought he could see right through her, that he knew. "You seem distracted," he observed quietly. "Is everything all right?" "Fine, Your Majesty. Just tired. Dr. Farid said that is normal during recovery." His gaze lingered. Then his attention shifted to Lila, who was trying to teach him a new sign for happiness. The moment passed. After dinner, Amina put the princess to bed with their usual routine. Bath, story. Lullaby hummed softly in the darkness. Lila's eyes were heavy with sleep when she signed one final question. "Will you be here tomorrow?" "Always," Amina signed back, hating herself for the lie. "I will always be here for you." The princess smiled and drifted off, her lamb tucked under one arm. Amina kissed her forehead, breathing in the scent of jasmine shampoo and innocence and trust. Then she left the nursery before she could change her mind, before she could confess everything and beg for help like she wanted to. At 11:30, Amina changed into dark, practical clothing. No jewelry, nothing that could identify her. She braided her hair tight against her head and checked her reflection in the mirror. The fingerprints on her throat had faded to pale yellow, almost healed. She touched them once, remembering King Rashid's fury when he had first seen them, wondering what his face would look like when he learned that she had thrown away everything he had done to protect her, wondering if he would care. The palace guards changed shifts at 11:45. Amina had learned the patterns over 4 months. There was a 60-second window when the eastern corridor was unwatched. She used it. The lower city was exactly as dark and dangerous as she remembered. Amina moved through the streets she once knew well, when she had been a different person, when Yusuf had been courting her with flowers and pretty words and promises he had never intended to keep, before she had learned what lived beneath his charm. The warehouse district loomed ahead, all shadows and broken windows and the smell of old rot. The address Yusuf had given her was a building that once stored grain. Now it stored nothing but rats and ruin and the ghosts of forgotten transactions. Amina approached with her heart hammering so hard she could barely hold her ribs from the inside. The door was unlocked. Inside, a single lantern burned in the center of vast emptiness. Yusuf stood beside it, backlit so his face was shadowed, but she knew his silhouette, had learned to read violence in the set of his shoulders, the angle of his head, the way his hands curled at his sides. He was not alone. 3 other men flanked her, all carrying the kind of casual brutality that came from years of hurting people for money. "My darling wife," Yusuf said, his voice carried across the empty space, smooth and mocking. "So obedient. I knew you would come." Amina stopped 10 feet away. "The princess is innocent. Leave her alone." "Oh, I will," Yusuf smiled. "Now that you're here, I don't need to touch the royal brat. You see, this was never about her. It was about you, about teaching you that you can't just walk away from me, that contracts and vampire kings don't mean anything when I decide they don't." He took a step forward. "You embarrassed me, Amina, made me look weak. The guild merchants are laughing, saying Yusuf Curry couldn't even keep his own wife in line. That's bad for business, bad for my reputation." Another step. "So I'm going to fix that.
I'm going to take you somewhere very far away, where vampire authority doesn't reach, and I'm going to spend the rest of your very short life making sure you regret ever thinking you could escape me." The men moved to flank her. Amina's mind raced. She knew this was coming, had walked into it deliberately, but knowing and experiencing were different. Terror flooded her system, cold and paralyzing. Yusuf pulled out a length of rope. "Now we can do this easy or hard, your choice, but either way, you're leaving with me tonight. And if I fight, then my associates will hurt you. A lot, and will still take you. So really, fighting just means more pain." He moved closer. The lantern light caught his face. He looked pleased, excited. He was enjoying this. "Don't worry, though. I'll send word to your precious vampire king. Let him know you ran away, couldn't handle the pressure, chose to come back to your husband like a good wife." He grabbed her arm. His grip was exactly as she remembered, crushing, possessive, claiming ownership through pain. She felt his fingers dig into the bruises that were still healing, felt him press deliberately on the spots he knew would hurt most. "I've missed you," he breathed behind her ear. "Missed teaching you your place. We're going to have such a good time together." His associates laughed. Ugly sounds in the darkness. Amina closed her eyes. This was it. This was how it ended. She had saved Lila. That was what mattered. The princess would wake up tomorrow safe, would have her father and Dr. Samira and the whole palace protecting her, would grow up strong and brave and loved, and Amina would disappear into whatever hell Yusuf had planned. But at least she would die knowing she had protected one innocent thing. At least there was that. Then a voice cut through the darkness like a blade forged from winter itself. "Release her." Yusuf froze. His associates spun toward the voice. From the shadows at the warehouse's far end, King Rashid emerged. He was.
What happened next happened very fast. King Rashid released Yusuf's throat and grabbed his right hand instead, the hand that had left fingerprints on Amina's neck, the hand that had twisted her wrist, the hand that had delivered 2 years of carefully calculated pain. "You like using these, do you not?" The king's voice was almost gentle, like leaving marks, like making people afraid. His grip tightened. "Let us see how you like it." There was a sharp crack. Yusuf screamed. The sound echoed through the warehouse, raw and animal. The king had broken 3 fingers with surgical precision. Not a killing blow, not even permanently disabling, but painful. Very, very painful. "That," King Rashid said calmly over the screaming, "is for the fingerprints on her throat." He moved to Yusuf's other hand. "This one grabbed her arm hard enough to leave bruises that lasted a week," he observed, examining it like a physician studying an interesting case. Another crack. 2 fingers this time. Yusuf collapsed to his knees, cradling his ruined hands, sobbing. "For the wrist," the king noted. He stepped back, letting Yusuf crumple completely to the ground. Then he turned to the associates, who were watching in frozen horror. "You 3 have a choice. You can spend the next year in vampire custody, being questioned about your employer's activities, or you can leave this city tonight and never return. If I see your faces again, I will assume you have chosen option 1. The men ran, actually ran, stumbling over each other in their haste to escape. Within seconds, they were gone, leaving only Yusuf whimpering on the warehouse floor. King Rashid looked down at Yusuf with an expression of clinical detachment. "You will live," he said. "The palace physicians will set your fingers. They will heal crooked, but they will heal. Every time you look at them, you will remember this moment. You will remember that you touched something precious and paid the price." Yusuf tried to speak through his sobs, could not form words. The king crouched down to his level. "If you ever approach Amina, again, if you send another letter, if you so much as think about her or my daughter or anyone in my household, I will find you. And next time, I will not be merciful. Next time, I will take the whole hand." He paused.
Am I understood? Yusuf nodded frantically. Good. King Rashid stood. Guards, take him to the city watch. File charges for stalking, harassment, and threatening a royal household member. Make sure they understand the king's personal interest in seeing this prosecuted to the fullest extent. Two guards moved forward, hauling Yusuf to his feet. He went without resistance, still cradling his hands, still crying. As they dragged him toward the warehouse entrance, King Rashid called after him one final time. Oh, and Yusuf, the debt you claimed Amina's family owed, I had it investigated. Turns out most of it was fabricated. False documents, forged signatures. You will be facing fraud charges as well. I have made sure of it. Yusuf's face went even paler. But that was, I did not, the king cannot just, I can, King Rashid interrupted, and I did. His smile was cold. Enjoy prison. Then Yusuf was gone, hauled away into the night, and the warehouse fell silent except for Amina's rapid breathing. She stood where the guards had positioned her, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. The king turned to face her. His cold fury in his expression melted away, replaced by something that looks like concern, like fear, like relief. Are you hurt? His voice was gentle now, completely different from the tone he had used with Yusuf. Did he injure you before I arrived? Amina shook her head, could not speak. Her throat had closed completely. King Rashid moved toward her slowly, giving her time to retreat if she wanted. When she did not, he reached out and very carefully took her hand, the same hand Yusuf had grabbed so brutally just minutes before. His touch was impossibly gentle. You were very brave, he said quietly. Also very foolish, but mostly brave. The words broke something open inside her. Amina started crying, not delicate tears, ugly, gasping sobs that came from somewhere deep and broken. All the fear, all the tension, all the years of holding herself together while being systematically destroyed, it all came pouring out in wave after wave. The king pulled her carefully into his arms, supporting her weight when her legs gave out. He held her while she fell apart, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other wrapped protectively around her shoulders. I've got you, he murmured. You're safe now. I've got you. You're not alone anymore. The guards maintained their perimeter, giving them privacy. Outside, the city continued its nighttime rhythms, and in the ruins of a warehouse that had witnessed too much pain, Amina finally let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she had survived.
The return to the palace happened in a blur. King Rashid wrapped Amina in his cloak before carrying her to the royal carriage. She tried to protest that she could walk, but her legs had other ideas. Shock was setting in, making everything feel distant and strange. The carriage interior was warm and quiet. The king sat across from her, watching with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow was not. After several minutes of silence, he spoke. How did you know? Amina's voice came out hoarse. About the letter, about where I had gone. I did not, at first. He paused. But you were acting strangely at dinner, distracted, frightened beneath the calm. I asked Madame Noor to check on you after you put Layla to bed. When she reported that you had left your rooms in dark clothing heading toward the eastern corridor, I knew something was wrong. He leaned forward. I have people watching all the entrances, Amina. Not to trap you, to protect you. When you slipped past the guard rotation, they reported it immediately. I had 5 minutes to assemble my guards and follow. He paused again. I found the letter on your pillow, beside the other letters you had written. Amina closed her eyes. The goodbye letters, the ones she had thought would be delivered after she disappeared. You read them. Every word, he confirmed quietly. Do you have any idea what it felt like reading your letter to Layla? Your instructions for how to help her process your death? Your certainty that you had to face Yusuf alone to protect her? She could not answer, could not look at him. His voice gentled further. You should have told me, shown me the letter the moment it arrived.
We could have set a trap, could have taken Yusuf into custody without you ever being in danger. I could not risk it. Amina forced herself to meet his eyes. He said he would kill her if I told anyone. I could not. I cannot let anything happen to Layla. I know. The king's expression was complicated, layered with emotions she could not quite parse. I know, and that is what terrifies me. You were willing to die for my daughter, without hesitation. The carriage rolled through the palace gates. Guards saluted as they passed. Everything looked exactly as it had when Amina left, as if the world had not just tilted on its axis. King Rashid helped Amina from the carriage with careful courtesy. Dr. Farid was waiting in the entry hall, summoned ahead by messenger. The physician took one look at Amina and began his gentle assessment. Shock, mostly, he concluded after checking her pulse and examining her for injuries. No new physical trauma, but she will need rest, warmth, something to eat, though she probably won't want it, and someone should stay with her tonight. I will stay, the king said immediately. Dr. Farid's eyebrows raised fractionally, but he nodded. As you wish, Your Majesty. He provided a tonic for the shock and instructions for care, then withdrew. Amina found herself being escorted to her suite by a vampire king who seemed determined to personally ensure her survival. Inside her rooms, he guided her to the chair by the fireplace and wrapped her in blankets while he built up the fire to roaring warmth. His movements were efficient, competent. She suspected he had done this before, cared for people in shock, helped them through trauma's aftermath. When the fire was blazing, he sat in the chair across from her. They stayed like that for a long time, silence, while Amina slowly stopped shaking. Finally, she found words. Why did you do it? Hurt Yusuf like that? You could have just arrested him. You didn't have to break his hands. The king was quiet for a moment. I wanted to, he said. That was part of it. Seeing him touch you, hearing him threaten Layla, it awakened something in me that I usually keep controlled, something violent and old. He met her eyes. But mostly I did it to make a point. Not to him. To you. Amina frowned. To me? To you, he confirmed. I needed you to see that someone would fight for you, that you are worth protecting, worth defending, that what he did to you matters. He leaned forward. You have spent years being told you deserved the abuse, that you should be grateful, that your pain did not matter. I needed you to see, viscerally and undeniably, that you were wrong. His voice dropped. I broke his hands because those hands hurt you, because I wanted you to watch him face consequences for what he did, because I needed you to understand that you did not deserve any of it. Tears spilled over again. Amina leapt at them roughly. I don't know how to be this person. The king tilted his head. What person? The person who's worth protecting, who people fight for. I've been the person who gets hurt for so long. Her voice broke. I don't know how to be anything else. You will learn, he said gently. We will teach you. Layla and I. Dr. Samira. Everyone who cares about you. It won't happen overnight. Recovery never does. But it will happen. She wanted to believe him, wanted it so desperately it ached. A knock at the door interrupted them. Come in, the king called. Madame Noor answered, carrying a tray with tea and simple food. Behind her, eyes huge with concern, was Princess Layla in her nightgown, clutching her lamb. The child's gaze went immediately to Amina, scanning her for injuries with the intensity of someone who understood loss too well. Madame Noor set down the tray. The princess awoke, Your Majesty. She seemed distressed, insisted on seeing Miss Amina. Layla ran across the room and climbed into Amina's lap, small arms wrapped around her neck in a fierce hug. Amina held her, breathing in jasmine, in innocence, in trust. I'm okay, she signed with one hand, the other arm wrapped around the child. I'm safe. I'm here. The princess pulled back enough to sign rapidly, desperately. I had a bad dream. You were gone. You weren't coming back. Thought I lost you too." The last sign was jagged, uncertain, but clear enough. "Lost like Mama." Amina's heart cracked. "Oh, little moon, I'm so sorry I scared you. But I'm here. I'm not leaving." The king moved closer, knelt beside Amina's chair so he was level with his daughter. "Layla," he signed carefully. "Amina is very brave. She protected you tonight, protected both of us. And now we are going to protect her, always." The princess looked between them, then signed something that made them both still. "Are we a family now, the three of us?" King Rashid glanced at Amina. She saw the question in his eyes, the permission being asked, the hope carefully guarded but present. Amina thought about the letters she had written, about walking into a warehouse expecting to die, about being carried back in a king's arms, about this small girl who had lost her mother and found comfort in a broken nanny, about a cold vampire who had learned to sign bedtime stories, about protection that felt real. She signed her answer clearly, no hesitation. "Yes, we are family." Layla's smile could have lit the entire palace. She settled into Amina's lap with the contentment of a child who had found her place in the world. The king's expression transformed into something she had never seen before, something that looked like joy, like relief, like coming home after a very long journey. Madame Noor cleared her throat delicately. "Shall I prepare the princess's room, Your Majesty?" "Let her stay," Amina said. "Just for tonight. All of us." Madame Noor's lips twitched in what might have been approval. "Very good, miss. I will have additional bedding brought." She withdrew, leaving them in the fire-lit warmth. King Rashid poured tea with one hand, signing with the other, telling Layla about the guards who would help tonight, about how brave Amina was, about how they would always be safe now. The princess listened, signed questions, demanded details. Gradually, her eyes grew heavy. She dozed off in Amina's arms, lamb tucked under her chin. The king and Amina sat in comfortable silence, watching the child sleep. Outside, the vampire realm awoke to a new day. "We should talk," he said eventually, keeping his voice low so as not to wake Layla. "About what happens next, what you want, what you need." Amina looked at him, at this powerful ancient being who broke a man's hands to defend her honor, who had learned to sign language to talk to his daughter, who was asking, not telling, what came next. "I want to stay," she said quietly. "Here, with Layla, with you, if that's allowed." "It's more than allowed." His voice was rough. "It's hoped for, desperately." He paused. "But Amina, you need to understand something. This isn't about the debt anymore, not about contracts or protection. This is about—" he seemed to struggle with words. "This is about caring, about family, like Layla said, about building something real from all this brokenness." He went on. "I haven't felt this, haven't wanted this, since my wife died. The idea of letting—" 3 weeks passed. Amina stood in the palace courtyard, watching Lila play with other children. The princess was still mostly silent, but she had started using sign language with everyone. Staff, guards, the other noble children who came for supervised play. And slowly, tentatively, words were beginning to emerge. Small ones, careful ones, but words nonetheless. This morning she had signed and whispered, "Good morning," to Amina. 2 words, barely audible. Amina had cried, happy tears this time, the kind that meant healing instead of breaking. "Watch this," Lila signed now, then spoke aloud. "Watch." She climbed to the top of the garden wall's lowest section and balanced there, arms out like a bird. The other children cheered.
Amina's heart climbed into her throat until the princess jumped down safely, landing with practiced grace. "Brave girl," Amina fined back. "Be careful, little Mooey." Rashid appeared beside her, silent in the way vampires moved. He had gotten better at announcing his presence after she jumped the first dozen times. Still startled her occasionally, but now she smiled instead of flinching. "She is doing well," he observed, watching his daughter with undisguised pride. "Better than well. She is thriving." Amina paused. "The stability is helping, having both of us consistent in her life, making her feel secure." He was quiet for a moment. "We received word from the courts today. Yusuf has been sentenced to 15 years. The fraud charges combined with the stalking and threats carried serious penalties. He will serve the full term." Amina absorbed this. 15 years. Yusuf would be over 50 when he was released. She would be in her late 30s. Free. Truly free. "How do you feel?" Rashid asked. She considered. "Relieved. Scared that I am relieved. Guilty that I am not sadder. Confused about all of it." "That is reasonable," he said. "Trauma does not resolve cleanly. You are allowed complicated feelings about your abuser facing consequences." Dr. Samira had said something similar in their sessions. Amina had been seeing her 3 times a week, working through layers of abuse and survival and learned helplessness. It was hard work, painful work, but necessary. "I keep waiting for him to show up anyway," Amina admitted, "for this to all be a trick, for him to take it all away." Rashid's hand found hers. "He is bound with iron, held in a cell designed for the most dangerous criminals. He cannot reach you, will never reach you again. I have made certain." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "And even if he could somehow impossibly escape, he would have to go through me, through my entire guard, through every person in this palace who has come to care about you. You are not alone in this fight anymore." Amina leaned into his side. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders, solid and warm, despite the vampire coldness that should have been there. She had learned he could regulate his temperature for her comfort, one of many small considerations he showed. The children in the courtyard started a new game. Lila was in the middle of it, signing instructions, laughing, actually laughing, the sound rusty but genuine. "It is strange," Amina said quietly. 4 months ago, I thought my life was over, thought I would die in service to a debt I did not really owe, probably at Yusuf's hands. And now you are free, now you are healing, now you have a family." Rashid's voice was gentle. "Now you have choices." "Yes," Amina smiled. "Now I have choices." She had been offered a formal position as Lila's tutor and companion, generous salary, private rooms, respect. King Rashid had insisted she had independence, her own money, her own space, the option to leave if she wanted. He had made it very clear that gratitude should not be confused with obligation, that she owed him nothing, that staying should be a choice, not a debt repaid. She had chosen to stay. Not because she had to, because she wanted to. The distinction mattered. "Speaking of choices," Rashid said, "there is something I wanted to discuss." He paused. "The annual Harvest Festival is next week. It's a major celebration. Music, dancing, food. Very public, very visible. I traditionally attend with family." Another pause. "I was hoping you might accompany me, as my guest." Amina's heart stuttered. "As your guest?" "As my guest," he confirmed. "I know it's soon. I know you are still healing. But I wanted to ask, wanted you to know that I would be honored to have you at my side. No obligation, no pressure, just an invitation." She turned to face him fully. "Rashid, we haven't really talked about what this is between us. I mean, we're raising Lila together. We care about each other, but you are uncertain what that means going forward. That is fair." He took both her hands in his. "Let me clarify.
I am a vampire king who has lived 700 years. I have had lovers, had marriage in the political sense, but what I feel for you is different. It's not about need or convenience or political advantage. It's about partnership, about respect, about wanting to build something real with someone brave and kind and remarkable. His expression was earnest, almost vulnerable. I am not asking you to love me, not yet, maybe not ever if that's not what you feel, but I am asking permission to court you properly, slowly, at whatever pace feels safe, to see if this, whatever this is, could become something lasting. Amina's throat was tight. I am still broken. I am not. I cannot promise I will be easy to love. I have nightmares. I flinch at loud noises. Sometimes I can't breathe if someone stands too close suddenly. I'm working through it, but I know, he said simply. I've been aware of all of that from the beginning, and I'm still here, still asking, not despite your trauma, acknowledging it, accepting it as part of who you are right now, believing you are worth the patience it takes to heal. She studied his face, found only sincerity there, only steady affection. So if I said yes to the festival, if I went as your guest, what would that mean? It would mean, he said carefully, that we are moving forward together, letting people see us as a unit. It's a public statement without being an official declaration, a way to test the waters, to see how it feels to be presented as partners. Amina thought about Yusuf, about how he had isolated her, controlled who she saw, made her invisible except when he wanted to display ownership. This was different. Rashid was offering visibility as choice, recognition as respect, partnership instead of possession. I would like that, Amina said quietly. I would like to go with you. His smile was brilliant. Truly? Truly. She squeezed his hands. But slow, like you said, patient. I need time to learn how to be loved instead of hurt. You have all the time you need. He raised one hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles gently. Thank you for trusting me with this. They stood together in the courtyard sunlight, watching Lila play, holding hands like a tentative promise.
Later that afternoon, Amina received a letter. Not from Yusuf, from her father. The handwriting was familiar, beloved. She opened it with trembling fingers. My dearest Amina, I do not know how to thank you. Your position at the palace has provided our family with more security than we have known in years. The northern estates are beautiful. Your sister is expecting her first child. We are safe. We are happy. Your mother's health has improved in the clean mountain air. We have heard about Yusuf's imprisonment. The full story reached us through official channels. Amina, I am so sorry. I am sorry we did not see, did not protect you, did not understand what we were pushing you toward when we encouraged the marriage. We thought we were helping, thought his financial stability meant he was a good man. We were wrong, catastrophically wrong. Please forgive us, and please know that we are proud of you, proud of your courage, proud of the woman you have become despite everything you endured. The king's representative told us you are tutoring the princess, that you have become important to the royal household, that you are valued there. I hope you know how much you are valued here, too. You are always welcome to visit when you are ready. Your sister asks about you constantly. We all miss you, but we understand if you need time. We will be here when you are ready. All our love, Father. Amina read the letter 3 times. Then she sat at her writing desk and began composing a response. Dear Father, tell Mother that her health matters more than any apology. Tell Sister that I cannot wait to meet my niece or nephew. Tell everyone that I am well. I am healing. I am learning what it means to be safe. And yes, I would like to visit soon. Maybe bring some people with me, people I would like you to meet. She signed it with love and hope and the tentative belief that broken things could be mended with time and care. That evening, the three of them shared dinner as usual, but this time, when Lila asked to show her father a new sign she had learned, she used her voice. "Look, Daddy, like this." Both adults froze. Daddy. The first time she had called him that aloud in 7 months. Rashid's eyes were bright. He knelt beside her daughter's chair. "I am looking, sweetheart. Show me." She demonstrated the sign for family, then pointed to herself, to her father, to Amina. "Us," she said clearly. "We are family." "Yes," Rashid agreed, his voice rough with emotion. "Yes, we are." Amina reached across the table, took his hand, took Lila's small fingers with her other. The three of them formed a circle, broken pieces finding new configuration, creating something whole from the fragments. Outside, the vampire realm prepared for the harvest festival. Inside, a new family learned to trust that healing was possible, that love could be gentle, that survival could transform into living, that tomorrow would be better than yesterday. And for the first time in years, Amina believed. The night of the harvest festival, the crystal realm transformed. Crystal towers blazed with enchanted light. Music drifted through the streets from 100 different sources. The scent of spiced wine and honey cakes and night-blooming flowers filled every corner of the palace grounds. Amina stood before her mirror, hardly recognizing the woman who looked back at her. Madame Noor had sent up the dress that morning, deep blue silk that shifted to purple in certain lights, embroidered with silver threads that caught the candle glow like scattered stars. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Madame Noor did not do imperfect. Her matching scarf draped elegantly around Amina's throat. Not to hide bruises this time. The fingerprints had faded completely 3 weeks ago. This scarf was pure adornment, pure choice. Her hands were steady as she arranged the fabric. A knock at her door. She opened it to find Rashid in formal attire, black and silver. His presence filled the doorway. His breath caught when he saw her. "You look—" He paused, searching for words. "You look like starlight." Amina felt heat rise to her cheeks. "You look like a king," she said. "I am a king," he said. "Tonight I would rather be simply Rashid, simply your escort." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" They walked through the palace corridors together. Guards saluted, servants bowed. Whispers followed in their wake. Amina heard fragments of conversation as they passed. "Is that the human Nanny? She is accompanying the king? I heard she saved the princess's life. The king broke a man's hands for her. Did you see the way he looks at her?" Rashid's hand covered hers where it rested on his arm. "Does this bother you, the attention?" Amina considered the question. "A year ago, it would have terrified me," she admitted. "Being seen, being noticed. Yusuf taught me that visibility was dangerous, that the safest place was invisible." She paused. "But this is different. This is being seen as myself, not as someone's property, not as something to be hidden." She met his eyes. "It does not bother me. Not anymore." The festival grounds were overwhelming in the best possible way. Thousands of lanterns hung from every available surface. Tables groaned under the weight of food. Musicians played on 3 different stages. Vampires and humans and other beings Amina could not identify mingled together in celebration. And through it all, Layla ran ahead of them, laughing and signing, and occasionally speaking single words into the delighted faces of palace staff who had not heard her voice in months. "Daddy, look! Cake!" Rashid watched his daughter with an expression of pure joy. "I see it, sweetheart. Would you like some?" "Yes, please."
She took the cake he offered and ran off to show the guards at the perimeter. Amina watched her go. "She is going to be all right," she said quietly. "Yes," Rashid's voice was soft. "Because of you." "Because of us," Amina corrected. "We did this together." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "There is something I have been wanting to tell you." His tone made her turn fully toward him. "What is it?" "I have spent 700 years accumulating power, wealth, influence. I have won wars and lost people I loved. I have ruled this realm through plague and peace and everything in between." He paused. "But I have never been as afraid as I was the night I read your letter, the letter you wrote to Layla, explaining that you had to leave, that you loved her, that being brave meant protecting people even when it was hard." His voice dropped. "I have never been as afraid as I was when I thought I might not reach you in time." Amina's eyes burned. "But you did reach me," she said. "You came." "I will always come," he said. "That is what I'm trying to tell you. Whatever this is between us, whatever it becomes, I need you to know that I will always come, always protect, always choose you." He took her hands. "Not because you need protecting. You are the bravest person I have ever known. You walked into that warehouse knowing you might die. You did it without hesitation. You did not need me to save you. You were already saving yourself." His grip tightened. "But I want to be there, beside you, not in front of you, not in front of you, beside you, for as long as you will let me." Amina could not speak. The words were too big, too much, too beautiful. She nodded instead, held his hands, steps closer. "Yes," she managed. "Yes, beside me. Always." The music swelled around them. The lanterns blazed. Somewhere, Layla was laughing with the guards, her voice growing stronger every day. And Amila stood in the center of the vampire realm, holding hands with a king, and felt something she had never expected to feel again. Hope.
6 months later, on the first anniversary of Amina's arrival at the palace, they gathered in the small dining room where everything had changed. Just the three of them, Layla between her father and Amina, chattering happily about her day. Full sentences now, full paragraphs. Her voice had returned completely over the past months, emerging like spring after a long winter. "And Daddy, guess what? Sami said my drawing of the lamp was the best in the whole class." "That is wonderful, sweetheart." Rashid's smile was warm. "I always knew you were the best artist." Layla beamed. After dinner, she went to bed with minimal protest. Madame Noor escorted her, leaving Rashid and Amina alone in the candlelit quiet. Amina traced the rim of her teacup. "It has been a year," she said. "Yes, a year since I arrived here, broken and terrified, believing my life was over." Rashid was silent, watching her. "A year since you saw the bruises on my throat and did not look away, since you asked questions and refused to accept lies, since you broke a man's hands to defend someone you barely knew." She set down her cup. "A year since I started learning what it means to be safe, to be valued, to be loved without conditions or debts or fear." She met his eyes. "I did not think this was possible, any of it. Happiness, family, trust. I thought those things were for other people, people who had not been broken the way I was broken." Her voice steadied. "But you were patient, you were kind. You never pushed, never demanded, never made me feel like my healing was an inconvenience or my trauma was a burden." She reached across the table and took his hand. "And Layla, that child healed parts of me I did not know were still bleeding. Her trust, her courage, her willingness to love again after losing everything." Amina paused. "I am not the same person I was a year ago. I am not broken anymore. I am not afraid anymore. I am not waiting for the other shoe to drop, for happiness to be revealed as a trap, for safety to be taken away." She squeezed his hand. And that is because of you, both of you, because you showed me that family is not about blood or obligation or debts repaid. Family is about choice, about showing up every day and choosing each other, about building something together and protecting it fiercely. Rashid's eyes were bright. Amina, he said, what are you saying? She took a breath. I am saying that I choose this, choose you, choose Layla, choose our family, not because I have to, not because I owe you anything, but because you are home to me now, both of you, and I do not want to live anywhere else. He stood, moved around the table, knelt beside her chair the way he had knelt beside Layla's that first night they signed together. Then he reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. I was going to wait, he said, find the perfect moment, the perfect words. But I have learned that perfect moments do not exist. There is only now, only this. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, silver, set with a deep blue stone that caught the candlelight and scattered it into stars. This belonged to my mother, he said. She gave it to me 700 years ago and told me to save it for someone brave enough to love a king and gentle enough to heal a family. His voice was rough. I have carried it with me through wars and grief and centuries of loneliness. I thought I would never find the person she described. He looked up at her. And then you walked into my daughter's nursery with bruises on your throat and a smile on your face, and more courage in your little finger than most warriors have in their entire bodies. And I knew. Amina. Amina could not breathe. I am not asking you to be queen. I am not asking you to rule a realm or attend political functions or transform yourself into something you are not. I am asking you to be my partner, my family, my home. He took her hand. I am asking you to marry me, to build this life together, to heal together, to be brave together. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. Will you? The silence stretched. Candlelight flickered. Somewhere in the palace, Layla laughed in her sleep. Amina looked at this man, this ancient, powerful, impossibly gentle king. She thought about the fingerprints on her throat and the scar that had betrayed her. She thought about the warehouse and the broken hands and the carriage ride home. She thought about sign language lessons and silent laughter and a small girl who had learned to speak again. She thought about all the ways she had been broken and all the ways she had been mended and all the hands that had helped put the pieces back together. Yes, she said. Yes, 1,000 yes. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Then he raised her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles, gently, reverently. I will spend the rest of my very long life trying to be worthy of you, he said. You already are, she said. You already are. They sat together in the candlelight, hands intertwined, ring glowing blue against her skin. Outside, the vampire realm continued its eternal dance of power and politics and ancient grudges. Inside, a king held his future queen and felt, for the first time in 7 centuries, that everything was exactly as it should be. The door creaked open. Layla stood in the doorway, lamb clutched under one arm, eyes wide. Daddy? Amina? What are you doing? Rashid smiled. We were just discussing something important. Come here. Layla padded over, climbing into her father's lap. What important thing? Amina held out her hand. The ring caught the light and scattered into rainbows. We have decided to get married, she said, if that is all right with you. Layla stared at the ring, then Amina, then her father. Her face broke into the widest smile they had ever seen. We are going to be a real family? For always? For always, Rashid said. I promise. Layla threw her arms around both of them. This is the best day ever, she announced. Even better than cake day. Amina laughed, Rashid laughed, Layla laughed, her voice clear and strong and full of joy. Outside, the night bloomed with stars. Inside, a family held each other and believed in forever. 6 weeks later, on a crisp autumn morning, Amina stood at the window of her rooms and watched the sunrise over the crystal towers of the vampire realm. The ring on her finger caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. Behind her, Layla was dressing for the day, chattering happily about the upcoming wedding. She had appointed herself flower girl, ring bearer, and chief organizer of all decorations. Madame Noor was attempting to rein in her enthusiasm with limited success. In the study across the hall, Rashid reviewed diplomatic reports with half his attention, the other half clearly focused on the sound of Amina's voice drifting through the open door. This was ordinary now, this quiet domestic rhythm, this sense of belonging. Amina touched her scar at her throat. Silk today, deep red to match her dress, no necessity for concealer, no bruises to hide, just a simple accessory chosen for beauty rather than necessity. She thought about Yusuf sometimes, less frequently now. The memories still hurt, but the sharp edges had worn smooth with time and distance, and the patient work of healing. She did not dream about him anymore, did not flinch at sudden movements, did not lie awake at night waiting for pain that never came. She was free, not because anyone had freed her, not because a king had broken her chains, or a child had healed her wounds, or a counselor had taught her to speak her trauma aloud. Those things had helped, those people had saved her life in ways she would spend the rest of it trying to repay. But freedom, she had learned, was not something given. It was something claimed, something chosen, something built day by day, choice by choice, breath by breath. She had chosen to survive, chosen to trust, chosen to heal, chosen to love. And tomorrow she would choose again, and the day after that, and the day after that, because that was what freedom meant, not the absence of fear or pain or memory, not the perfect erasure of everything that had been done to her, but the power to decide for herself what came next. Layla's voice drifted through the connecting door. "Amina, are you coming? We have to practice the flower arrangement for the ceremony, and Daddy said I could help pick the colors, and I think blue would be perfect because it matches your ring, and also it's my favorite, and—" Amina smiled. "Coming, little moon." She turned from the window and walked toward the sound of her daughter's voice, toward her family, toward the rest of her life.